I deserve that. Hello and welcome to the 15th episode of Twttin. It's the history-based comedy show for people who still laugh whenever they hear the words Elizabeth Regina. Looks like we found our audience at last. You're going to love it when we get to King Canut. And if that fails to tickle you, then I've still got Homo erectus in my arsenal. That's right, Homo erectus in my arsenal. Yeah, laugh it up, you numbskulls. Monkeys have more intelligence than you. Is this all it takes? I rack my brains trying to come up with beautiful, life-changing comedy, and all you want for me to do is to say Wankle rotary engine. I could have been a contender. You know, look at me now, reduced to puerile double entendres. It's pathetic. This is my annus horribilis. Oh, grow up. You disgust me. I disgust myself. Luckily, we have a talented house band to raise the tone. It's Christian Reilly and the Sodomites.
We are named after inhabitants of the biblical town of Sodom. And if you have a problem with that, don't take it up with us. Take it up with your local vicar.
With a band called Sodomite Christ, you don't want to start talking about taking anything up with anyone.
Yeah, very funny.
Yeah, unless you're into that. Are you into that? Are you Christ? Is that what you're into?
No.
No, me neither. Still, you have to try everything once, eh, Christ?
No.
No, I agree. You can be the postman, I'll be the letterbox.
No.
What if everyone else in the world died and we're the only two people left and the future of the human race depended on it? I'd have had sort of invented a way for a man to incubate a baby in his large intestine.
Even then, Rich, even though it would give me quite a lot of pleasure to know what horrendous pain you would go through in childbirth, no.
You're nasty. You're just playing hard to get. Anyway, on the 9th of December 1994, life on Earth as we know it was almost wiped out when we all had a near miss with a meteor. To find out what happened, please welcome the UK's second best astronomer, Sir David Spears.
Hello, Richard. Lovely to be here.
And can I just sympathise with you about how gutting it must be that the UK's first best astronomer, Sir Patrick Moore, seems to be immortal? Who would have thought a huge, fat Cyclops could live as long as him? He was about 80 in the mid-1970s.
Yes, Richard, I have been the second best astronomer in the UK now for almost 40 years. But I'm not bitter about it.
Well, we could have had Patrick Moore on today, actually, but we couldn't afford him, and he does insist on playing the xylophone.
Oh, well, I play the xylophone too, as it happens. I am, in fact, the second best xylophone-playing astronomer in the UK today.
Oh, God, that's tough on you. He must have been really annoyed when he got the Games Master gig.
I could easily have done that. I did audition. I would have been a really great giant disembodied head, judging the varying computer gaming skills of some nerdy children, I think. But hey-ho, I'm sure my time will come, one way or another.
Are you threatening to kill Sir Patrick Moore?
No. Can we talk about the meteor instead?
Yeah, of course. So you discovered this meteor in 1994?
Yes, I did. Me, not Sir Patrick Moore. And yet he's the one everyone goes on about. But I discovered the meteor. Sir David won, Sir Patrick nil.
Well, Sir David won Sir Patrick about 25, if we're being honest. But you discovered the meteor, and so you got to name it, presumably.
Yes, I did.
Chance to get your name into the public eye. If I discovered it, I would have called it Richard Herring's Rock of Doom.
Right. I called it 1994 XM1.
Yeah, maybe there's a reason you're not more famous. So how close did all life on Earth come to obliteration?
Oh, terrifyingly close, Richard. 1994 XM1, or to call it by the short Nicky name I gave it, 1994 XM, was 5 metres long and at its closest was just 105,000 kilometres from the Earth. If it had been only 3 times as big and 105,000 kilometres to the right, then it could have wiped out a small to medium-sized village.
But at its actual size, how much damage could it have done?
It could have badly dented a pavement, perhaps even cracking 1 or 2 slabs.
Yeah, that's if it hadn't actually been over 100,000 kilometres from the planet.
Yes, it wasn't a very good meteor. But I did discover it, and if I hadn't spotted it, then...
Then what?
Well, no one would really have known any different. Can I play the xylophone now?
No. Ladies and gentlemen, failed astronomer Sir David Spears.
That was then, this is now. It's literally out of this world.
Not literally.
Let's get on with the show. Will you please welcome back Christian Reilly and the Sodomites?
Thank you very much. On the 9th of December 1963, Frank Sinatra Jr. was kidnapped, and Frank Sr. paid the ransom, and his son was released unharmed 3 days later, but Old Blue Eyes was never quite the same after that. And when the car arrived to take me to a warehouse abandoned, I swear that I was petrified. I was clutching a case with 200 grand in, but in the end, things turned out right. I got my kid safe back that night. I did not try to act tough or try any funny stuff. I did it their way. 'Cause when I got the ransom note, I kicked myself and started crying. What have they done? They took my son. It was all really terrifying. So I obeyed. I crept and crawled. I acted like a big gaylord. I got their dough in non-sequential notes, 'cause I did it their way. 'Cause what does a man do? Does he go to the cops? Unless he wants his son minus his fingers and toes, he does not. He goes to the bank. He makes a withdrawal. He gets in a phone booth and awaits a call. The record shows I was not bellicose. I may as well have been wearing pantyhose. I rolled over like a dame, but then again, I did it their way. There was no hitch. I was their bitch. I did it their way. I got their cash. I took it in the ass. I did it their way, their way, their way, their way, their frickin' way. Hey, how about that band?
Christian Reilly and the Sodomites. Now, on the 10th of December 1907, the slightly racist poet and writer Rudyard Kipling was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. Personally, I think this is a total travesty. I hate Rudyard Kipling. I hate him for two major reasons. Firstly, Rudyard is a really stupid name. Rudyard. Rudyard? Rudyard, as the little black girl at his school used to call him. It's a Grange Hill reference, I'm not being racist. Admittedly, this wasn't completely Rudyard Kipling's fault. Maybe we should blame his parents, but I still think it's a good reason to hate him, because if you're going to give your child an unusual name, there are rules. You can't just go making up words that don't exist. It has to be a word that exists already, like apple or satchel or moon unit. There's no such thing as a Rudyard. I've looked up in the dictionary, it's not there. Lanyard Kipling, that would have been fine. Knackers Yard Kipling, I wouldn't have had a problem with. Secondly, more importantly, his most famous poem, If, it's much lauded. I believe it's deeply flawed. You may know it. It's the one that starts, if you can keep your head while all around you are losing theirs. And which is more? That's wrong. It should be what is more. That isn't the reason I don't like it. You'll be a man, my son. Basically, it goes on to list about 20 or 30 attributes that, in Rudyard Kipling's opinion, constitute masculinity. That's the opinion of a bloke, remember, who's been given the name Rudyard, and at no point in his life thought, you know what, now I'm grown up, I can change that to something less stupid so I don't get bullied by the other poets. The most famous bit is, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, and which is more, what is more? You'll be a man, my son. So what Rudyard Kipling is saying there is, if your reaction to triumph and disaster is exactly the same one, you have reached the ultimate goal of masculinity. I'm not sure that's correct. Let's examine that premise in what some people might say is far too much detail. So let's say you've trained your whole life to become a world-class sprinter. You get to the Olympic Games, you win the gold medal at the 100 metres. Then according to Rudyard Kipling, your reaction to that must be the same as if you witnessed the two planes flying into the World Trade Center on 11/9. as I still insist on calling it. So, let's say your reaction to winning the 100 metres is to jump up and down, punching the air, making wide Kelly Holmes-style eyes, then... according to Rudyard, that must too be your reaction if you're on the streets of New York that fateful day in September, which I think might have offended some of the people around you. I don't think they'd be thinking, what a man. I think they'd be thinking you're a lunatic or possibly an Islamic fundamentalist. Alternatively, Rudyard Kipling is saying it's OK if your reaction to winning the 100 metres is to fall to the floor, wrenching out your hair, pummelling the dirt with your fists, decrying man's inhumanity to man, which, again, I don't think would make your losing competitors think, what a man. I think they'd think, what a strange and unusual twazzock. Thirdly, and to be fair to Rudyard Kipling, I think this might be what he meant, you can prove your manly status if your reaction to triumph and disaster is the same, and you essentially don't react overly to either thing at all. So let's say you overcome cancer, you climb Mount Everest without oxygen, you raise £1 million for charity. When you get to the top, according to Rudyard Kipling, you should just sort of go... shrug your shoulders, go, it's not a big deal. Similarly, if there's a disaster, say your whole family is murdered and tortured by a machete-wielding maniac, then again, when the person comes to tell you, you just have to go, yeah. No, it's a disaster, but I'm going to react the same way as I do to a triumph. I'm following the advice of the slightly racist poet Rudyard Kipling. I can see from your astonished face how impressed you are. People wouldn't think you were a man, they'd think you're a heartless automaton devoid of human emotion. You'd be quickly shunned by human society for following Rudyard Kipling's advice. If you want to be a man, then your reaction to triumph and disaster must be two very different things. I'm going to tell you what they are, Radio 2, to help you out. React to a triumph by maybe dancing a little jig, doing one of those kind of Tim Henman-style punches. I think you might have seen the last of that one from Tim. But if there's a disaster, say a tsunami, don't do a Tim Henman punch. That would seem inappropriate. What you do then, you pull a sort of sad and considered face, as if you're thinking, oh no, that's really bad. And if the thing's really bad, if it's really bad, say a tsunami that involves some Westerners, then actually say out loud, oh no, that's really bad, just so people are clear. Two very different reactions, the correct reactions to triumph and disaster. Rudyard Kipling is wrong. Let him be stripped posthumously of his Nobel Prize. Let's go out in the streets, burn all of his books. Yeah, even the Just So stories, I don't care, they're quite good. We've listened to his lies for too long. He must be stopped. Oh, don't eschew the products of Mr. Kipling, though. No, it's a different bloke. That's the problem with mobs. You get out there, lose your heads. You know, 9 times out of 10, paediatricians get attacked. So do try and be thinking. If Mr. Kipling's first name is Rudyard, then he is at least sensible enough to use the more formal Mr. to avoid bullying by the other bakers. And he knows what being a man is really all about. Being a man is about baking loads of cakes and then eating them.
That was then, this is now. Mocking dead, slightly racist poets for a disproportionate amount. About 30-minute running time.
Yeah, I showed Rudyard Kipling there. I wouldn't like to be him tomorrow morning when he wakes to hear about that. Anyway, December the 9th, 1531, was the first ever reported sighting of a vision of the Virgin Mary. Supposedly, she appeared on a hillside to a poor Mexican widower called Juan Diego. But how did Juan Diego know it was the Virgin Mary? It could have been anyone, couldn't it? Surely there's no photos of her to compare with. So here's what I think really happened.
What really happened?
Oh, it's been such a long walk up this hill. I think I'll just sit here, have a little rest for a while.
Ping! All right, it's me, the Virgin Mary!
Sorry, who are you?
Me, the Virgin Mary, you know. The one what sprogged the baby Jesus out of clacker in a manger. 3 wise men. Virgin Mary, no room at the inn. That was almost my catchphrase. I just appeared out of nowhere. It was magic.
Well, but you appeared behind me. There's no way of telling if you just appeared from nowhere. You could have just jumped out of a bush.
Yeah, but I went ping. You must have heard the ping.
You're not the Virgin Mary. You don't look anything like a virgin. You've got bruised knees for a start.
No, I am the Virgin Mary. Look, I've got the blue veil and the blue veil. I am the Virgin Mary. I am.
I don't believe you. If you're the Virgin Mary, then prove it.
No room at the inn.
No. Just shouting a catchphrase that wasn't even attributed to you isn't going to cut it. I want, at the very least, some sort of divine sign.
Oh, hang hang on, what's this? Oh, boo-hoo, I'm crying cheese. Look at the tears of cheese.
You've just crumbled some cheese onto your face out of your own pocket. Who cries cheese? No one cries cheese, that's who.
No, I am the Virgin Mary. Virgin Mary Christ, that's my name. Don't wear it out.
All right, if you are Virgin Mary Christ, then tell me something about Jesus, something only his mum would know.
Ooh. Oh, well, he hates beetroot.
Well, there's no mention of Jesus hating beetroot in the Bible, but you could just be making it up.
No, I'm not making it up. Once I gave Jesus beetroot, it was sickle on his sandals. That's why he had a thing about washing his feet.
It's true, Jesus was particularly finicky about foot-based hygiene. It seems to add up, but you might just be a very clever con merchant.
What could I possibly have to gain by pretending to be a dead virgin?
Well, when you put it like that, I suppose...
Here, you couldn't just give me some pesetas, could you? I just need 100 pesetas to get a bus. Back to heaven!
Get out of it, you're a trickster and a charlatan.
But I am the Virgin Mary, and I was going to sweat all over this cloth, thus leaving an almost impossible impression of my face for you.
Oh, well, it's a shame to have missed out on that, isn't it? A sweat-face cloth, a cloth with all sweat on it. You'd think if you're the real Virgin Mary, maybe you could magic up something more impressive than some sweat on a flannel. I don't want your sweaty cloth, darling. Keep your sweat to yourself.
Yeah, but you could have taken it to the nearest bishop, lived the rest of your life revered as a saint, and sold replicas of the cloth to any passing stranger. That's what you could have done. But seeing as you don't believe me, then I'll just take my sweat face elsewhere.
Well, when you put it like that, 100 pesetas, you say?
Bish, bash, bosh, lovely. Now, if you just turn around, I can leave. Ping!
She's been taken up. It's a miracle. I'd hide better. I can still see you.
Sorry.
Amazing news. I've seen the Virgin Mary. Look, I've got her sweat face. And that's what really happened.
That was then, this is now.
What really happened?
So now please welcome back our guest from last week's show. I didn't think he was very good, but people have been writing in saying they liked him. He's the bloke from university who I copied all of my essays off. It's Paul Clegg.
Oh. Thank you very much. Thank you, fans. You are not worthy. You are not worthy. Sorry, only messing.
So you got a good response to your appearance last week.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a local celebrity. I made page 6 of the Wales Mercury.
Right.
And an old woman in Nailsea just came up and kissed me in the street. Apparently she's not been well, so I can't be certain if that was down to the show or just because she's a bit doolally. But yeah, right. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I want you to know that I didn't want you to come back.
Oh.
I found your comedy ideas they were a bit obvious, they were unoriginal.
Oh, yeah? Well, an old woman in Nailsea possibly thinks differently. Rich, and anyway, that was just my first go. I've really worked hard at it this week. Being a stand-up is easy, Rich. It is a piece of pie.
A piece of pie. Yeah.
Yes.
Good. So what have you come up with then?
Well, on 11th of December 1620, 103 Mayflower pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock. And I was just wondering what comedic situations might have developed if instead of landing at Plymouth Rock, the pilgrims had landed at Fraggle Rock.
What if they'd landed at the fictional setting of the mid-1980s Muppet spin-off?
Yeah, it's quite a humorous idea, isn't it?
So what would have happened?
Oh, I don't really know. I can't remember much about Fraggle Rock, to be honest. Possibly some puppets would have sung at them. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not... Thing is, that's not really enough, Paul.
Instead of having turkey at Thanksgiving, the Americans would eat Miss Piggy.
Yeah, Miss Piggy wasn't in Fraggle
All right,
Rock.
one of the characters from Fraggle Rock. Hey, there was one called Boober, wasn't there? Boober, that's funny.
No,
yeah?
it's not. It's not funny just to say boober. It's not. It's not.
The audience
They're
like
not.
it.
They don't like it. They're laughing at you. Not. I think if somehow those 17th century pilgrims had suddenly come across a world inhabited by living dolls, that they would probably have died of terror. And it's not funny. There's nothing funny about the death of judgmental and puritanical Christians, Paul.
All right. How about this? On the 11th of December, 1936, King Edward VIII abdicated to marry Mrs. Wallis Simpson. And I was just thinking to myself, what if he'd abdicated to marry Mrs. Marge Simpson?
No.
No, come on, I can really do this on. Oh, I love The Simpsons. It would probably be like, Eddie, stop drinking beer and eating donuts. It's actually quite hard to think of anything that Marge says, to be honest. But with a bit of work, that could be an excellent sketch.
So, your main comedic conceit seems to be, what would it be like if children's TV characters replaced historical figures? That's it. It's rubbish. It's hack.
No, it's not just that. You could also do a sketch where you flip it, where a historical character turns up in a children's television show, like... Hitler could be in Scooby-Doo, and when they unmask the ghost and find out it was him trying to scare off all the Jews from the fatherland, he can say, I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you pesky meddling kids.
No, stop it, Paul. This is offensive to both Jews and Nazis. It's an incredible thing. This is BBC Radio 2. The BBC, Paul. We have a discerning audience. We can't just foist half-thought-out, hastily written ideas on them and hope to get away with it.
Oh, that is one of your better ones.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Thanks. Thanks very much, Paul Clegg, ladies and gentlemen.
That was then, this is now. Using the real name of the bloke Rich copied his essays off at college. Let's hope he doesn't sue.
So, the 14th of December, 1503, saw the birth of French astrologer Nostradamus. Many people believe that he predicted the rise of Hitler, the death of JFK, and even the end of the world. But he didn't. All of his predictions are so vague, you can interpret them to mean anything you want.
Hey, don't you dare malign Nostradamus, Richard Keith. His prophecies were 100% accurate.
TV's Emma Kennedy, Nostradamus' #1 fan and impersonator.
Yes, Richard. On the forgotten 1990s TV show, This Morning with Richard Not Judy, I played the character of Nostradamus, and as with all of my roles, I did a lot of research into the subject, so my portrayal would be accurate.
You played him with a Welsh accent.
Yes, he was actually Welsh.
He rode around on a pantomime horse.
David Collins, yes, that is all historically correct. But I studied his predictions in my research, and they were chillingly accurate. Brrr! That's me being literally chilled by their accuracy.
So you're prepared to defend the gigantic French charlatan?
Welsh charlatan. I mean Welsh, not charlatan, yes.
OK, well, let's have a look at his most famous prediction, one of the only ones to have a date attached, and see if it came true.
I'm sure Nostradamus will be vindicated.
We'll see. In 1999 and 7 months...
July 1999, yes.
The King of Terror will come from the skies. Do you remember that?
Yes.
A King of Terror
coming from
the skies in July 1999. Do you remember that happening? That's the kind of thing I think I would have noticed.
Well, maybe you noticed wrong.
OK, well, let's carry on with the rest of it. Reviving the memory of the great king of the Anglemois. Has the king of the Anglemois' memory been revived? Anyone remember the king of the Anglemois? Or what indeed Anglemois itself actually was?
No, he wrote it in code a lot, Richard. It's probably an anagram of Mongols.
Well, if it is, there's way too many letters. It's Mongols AUI. That wouldn't get you very far on Countdown, would it? Then it ends, before and after, war will rule luckily, which to me questions Nostradamus' judgment of good fortune,
well,
at
no,
least.
obviously it refers to 9/11.
To what, sorry?
9/11, the events of September the 11th.
Oh, 11/9. Yeah, call it by its name. So the events of September the 11th, 2001, happened in July 1999 now, did they?
No, come on, it's close enough. The Lord of Terror came from the skies.
Yeah, I remember, because the day after that, the thing that everyone was saying, I don't know if you recall, but everywhere you went after the Twin Tower thing, people were going, you know what this reminds me of? The King of the Anglemois. When I saw the news, and when I wasn't trying to work out how Rudyard Kipling would want me to react, I was just reminiscing about old King, you know, what's-his-face, and the stuff he did in Anglemois.
Shut up! Yeah, he was close enough. He did well to get the sky thing and terror coming out of it and be only 22 months out with the date. It was close enough.
Get out of here, Kennedy. You're the queen of the Anglemorks.
I am not mawkish!
The fence is not on offer. Ladies and gentlemen, TV's Emma Kennedy. So that's pretty much the end of the show. Hope you've enjoyed. Hold on, I'm just hearing in my ear that a gigantic meteor is heading directly for the planet Earth.
Damn it, I might have seen that first if I hadn't been on your stupid show.
Don't worry, Sir David, because Sir Patrick Moore saw it ages ago and is at this very minute on a rocket heading towards the dreaded space rock in an attempt to save the world.
Pah! So I expect your show will now be replaced by rolling news about this potentially cataclysmic event.
You'd think that, wouldn't you? But in fact, Sir Patrick Moore has insisted he will only speak to us. Can you hear me, Sir Patrick?
Yes, I can, Witch. It's me, Sir Patrick Moore. My voice slightly changed by being in space. But I was on Games Master.
Well, I know. Remember that time that I came on and you judged me better than Stuart Lee at playing video games? And I won a golden joystick.
How could I forget? Though probably Stuart got over the disappointment when he won that Olivier Award and all the lifetime achievement in comedy stuff he's got. Really.
No, I don't think the golden joystick was all he ever wanted. I think it's the big one.
Anyway, this really isn't the time. I'm heading towards the meteor now. It is 1,000 metres wide, not 5, Spiro. And it is made of burning wok and gases. It is literally a great ball of fire. I've decided to name the meteor Sir Patrick Moore's gigantic burning space testicle.
Now that's a name.
Oh, shut up. That is not official nomenclature.
And I calculate that the meteor is going to land bang slap in Shepherd's Bush, where I believe you are located.
Yeah.
Not that that's important. The whole world will be destroyed, obviously, unless I save it. I have calculated if I fire this nuclear missile into the heart of the meteor, the blown-up pieces will fly off at a tangent, thus missing the world entirely. I will do my best.
Cocky idiot.
I'm going to fire it now.
Good luck, Sir Patrick.
What? I don't understand it. The button is jammed. The weapon will not fire. The Earth will be destroyed.
Ha ha! Bad luck, Maury. I am delighted.
You do realise you are on the Earth?
I don't care, as long as he fails. It's similar to the way you feel about Stuart Lee.
It's not, you know, I don't have any competition. Anyway, does Stuart Lee have his own Radio 2 history-based sketch show?
No, he doesn't. You and me are the same, Herring. I am glad the world will end, and the immortal Sir Patrick Moore will be left out there, floating in space for the rest of eternity, alone.
But he loves space. That's his dream come true.
Oh, I can't win!
Wait, I can still do it. If I fly my spaceship into the meteor, the nuclear missile will still explode.
But you will die, Sir Patrick.
I have to do it.
No! Oh, Sir Patrick, no!
Hey, it's worked, Rich. The meteor, it's destroyed. Look at the sky. It's like the best fireworks night ever.
Oh, damn Sir Patrick Moore. He always beats me at everything.
Well, look on the bright side, Sir David. At least you are now finally the UK's #1 astronomer.
Oh, yes I am, aren't I? Maybe it's not such a bad day after all. The sky at night, Games Master, all the astrology groupies like Mylene Class, mine, all mine.
Wait, something's coming through on the space transmitter that I have.
Major Patrick to ground control. Incredible news. Somehow, in the explosion, me and my ship were blown clear. I am alive.
That makes no sense.
Shut up, you're just a bad loser. He's immortal. Live with it. Come on home, Sir Patrick. You're the biggest hero of all time.
Bah!
And as the celebrations start on a day that will surely be Sir Patrick Moore Day forevermore, that's the end of the show. Sir Patrick, I don't suppose you'd like to play us out, would you?
My pleasure.
Thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed the show. We're off for a couple of weeks for Christmas now. We wouldn't want to risk building up a following. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Damn you, Sir Patrick Moore. I will have my revenge. Can I at least do the credits?
No, Patrick's doing them.
That was Then, This Is Now. It was written and performed by Richard Herring, TV's Emma Kennedy, Dan Tetsell, Danny Robbins, and me, Sir Patrick Moore. The songs and music were all by Twttin, Reilly and the Sodomites, who were Damien Caldwell, Martin Kane, and Charlie Round Turner. It was produced by Liz Anstey and was a cellular production for BBC Radio 2.
This is BBC Radio 2, online, on digital and on 88 to 91 FM.